What's going on, everybody? If you're seeing this page, that means the official Touring Rain Reloaded merch store is now available. To get access to the store, make sure you go ahead and click the store tab on my YouTube channel. From there, you will be able to see all the merch that is available. We have mugs, shirts, hoodies, joggers, and so much more to come. All original designs made by yours truly, Touring Rain Reloaded. Now go ahead and get your merch today, and you can feel nothing in style. Looks like we have yet another Operation Protect the White Boy coming out of Vermont, where you have this man whose name is Dakota Coutu, who has pled not guilty to assaulting state troopers. And as you can see, he was taken in alive unscathed. But let's be honest with ourselves here. When you look at this picture, do you see a person who is 28? I do not. I give him about maybe 10, at the least 10 more years, at the very least, and nothing lower than that. A Vermont man pled not guilty to the charges of assaulting a protected professional and resisting arrest in court Monday. It comes after he allegedly assaulted state troopers responding to a disturbance Sunday at a residence in Concord. Now, where was his taser to the back? Like what that Dana Elmore did to that black man down in the South. Where was his taser to the back? It's funny how whenever I do stories like this and the words resisting come in there, it's a reason why whenever I read them and I add extra tone emphasis to the word resisting, because that's what the usual suspects love to say we do and how we don't comply. Yet when they do it, they're nowhere to be found. When they don't do it, they're nowhere to be found. I mean, look at how some of the excuses they popped up that came up when I was talking about the dude recently out there in San Diego. Vermont State Police said Dakota Coutu, age 28, allegedly was intoxicated when troopers arrived at the Glenside Lane home at around 7 p.m. Coutu allegedly resisted arrest and kicked troopers as they attempted to take him into custody. Coutu was eventually subdued and transported to the Northeast Regional Correctional Facility on a $200 bail. Peep that. A $200 bail? Okay. Per conditions of the court, Coutu is not allowed to drink or consume alcohol. Furthermore, he is not allowed to have direct contact with the mother of his children. Now, that's very interesting because they didn't mention anything about that anywhere else in the article, so it most likely sounds to me like it was a domestic dispute. But yeah, this whole article has Operation Protect the White Boy all over, even though it's a very short article, and it is very short. This dude literally did everything textbook that they tell us we should not do, and if we don't do, we'll survive, or we won't get tased at the very least, or injured. This guy was allowed to do all of that, and the only thing that was hurt is most likely his feelings, because look at his mugshot. The man is crying so hard that his whole face turned red. And yet, and like I said, this happened in Vermont. Concord is coming out of Concord. But they tell us to do one thing. That's why I said in the other video, my title is two different Americas that we're living in. They love to say that it's this equality thing. Oh, if we just stop talking about race, oh, if we just don't bring it up, then we'll live in harmony. No. Because hypothetically, let's say that we stop talking about it. Guess what? It would still happen regardless. They just don't want it to be talked about because it puts them in the forefront. They'll be on the forefront for anything else, but when they get called out for the obvious, then okay, now it's a problem. They are full of it. But this guy right here, had Dakota been Damon, it would have played out a whole lot differently, and it probably would have went viral. You want to know what's interesting? Speaking of me saying going viral, have you noticed that unless there is a video attached to it, like that one that I talked about a couple days ago, and even then they try to handle that with kid gloves, they will not address stories like this. But if it was any other way and a particular group got a hold of it, they would make sure this spreads like wildfire, and their melanated co-colonizing cohorts, aka the tap dancing brigade, or as I call it, the buck dancing brigade, will be falling right in line and step with them to say the same thing. I highly doubt that Fakem, Candace Owens, Greg Foreman, and so many others like them are going to touch this story with a 10-foot pole. I doubt they even talked about the one that happened in San Diego, and that was on video. So they can't say they didn't see it. I'll be utterly shocked if they did. And if they did, I wonder what they would have to say. Because remember, I always tell you to pay attention to tone. Tone tells a lot. Whether they are so-called passionate about what happened or they just don't care. I'm leaning more towards the latter. But I have a feeling, excuse me, they won't talk about this. I'm one of the few people that has an actual Operation Protect the White Boy playlist, or one that puts their criminality on the forefront. And the same goes for their female counterpart, because she ain't exempt. That's crazy. But I'm not shocked. And you want to know what's interesting about this situation is that this is not even the worst they can do. This is not even their worst. This is actually bare minimum, because there were no casualties. And by casualties, I mean those who were supposed to deal with him accordingly. Because, I've done several of these where there were actual lives taken and they still got taken in alive. No beat downs, no face cuts, no bruises, none of that. Just taken in and let them go on their way. And the fact that he has the nerve to plead not guilty for what he obviously did, I'm telling you, his lawyers are probably going to convince him to switch that not guilty to guilty so he can get a plea deal. After all, he did get a $200 bail, so they might as well go for the gusto. They probably going to tell him to switch that thing out and say, don't plead not guilty. We can get you a plea deal. They only got you on a $200 bail. Let's see if we can get you down to maybe probation and some community service. I'm guaranteeing that's what they're going to do, because if he decides that he's going to plead not guilty and they can find him for sure guilty on what obviously happened, they will. But then again, this is Operation Protect the White Boy, so he could plead not guilty and still get off.